roller coasters will help alleviate kidney stones by making you pass them.
So basically, you're pissing yourself on a roller coaster.
I don't know how you ride a roller coaster, but there's been I may have pooped a couple times. I don't know.
Listening to Three Bourbons In. 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 Cheers.
Good.
So, welcome to Three Bourbons In.
Yep.
This is our second segment
Episode
of our Three Bourbons In. What would you call this?
Shit show?
It's such profanity.
Mess? You're such profanity.
I mean, I'm personally offended at your vernacular.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Are you?
I'm a sensitive
fucker.
sort. But this is our second attempt
That's a valid
at the Three
term.
Bourbons In.
Yes.
And to remind everybody, this is our in-between shows.
Yep.
That's going to be really lighthearted. That's going to be a little bit more off the cuff. Not a lot of research has went into these topics. It's
Absolutely
just our
none.
thoughts.
Yep. Absolutely none on my part.
But first of all, let's talk about how things have gone since we went public.
Oh, what a ride, man!
It's been. I did not expect it to be this level this quickly.
Yeah, me neither.
And I think honestly, it's caught us both or all of us a little bit off guard.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about what it took for us to get to where we are now.
Well, I know a few of the listeners heard our first attempt at this thing. It was basically done with a cassette tape recorder and some frying pans or some shit. It sounded like trash.
We were sitting in the middle of my kitchen.
Yeah.
And I was about a 50, and everybody else was about a 5 on the volume, on the Richter scale, if you will.
It sounded rough. Great show, but it sounded rough. And then we got serious, and James hooked us up with some decent gear and
just through donations, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, my sister plays professionally and has for 50 years, and she had an old mixer that she wasn't using and three nice mics.
Yeah, they're decent.
And we came down into my basement and started this thing, and so far I've been amazed and very appreciative.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of the support that we've gotten.
Absolutely. Whether that is, folks who know us, who hear the show, and hell, one of them grabbed me in the hall today.
It wasn't sexual, was it?
Well, I can't talk about that. The litigation isn't complete.
Okay.
But,
well, good on you. I mean, because some action's better than no action.
Well, there's that. But, whether it's people bumping into you saying, hey, great job, or we've gotten emails, text messages, Facebook action. God, that's creepy.
That's you're getting grabbed and you're getting action on Facebook.
Yeah, see,
I think you're into this for different reasons than I am.
You don't hate. Don't hate.
But needless to say, when we push this thing, and we really appreciate everybody that was part of our kind of think tank or a focus group that really helped us to hone what they were hearing versus what we thought we were putting out there.
Right.
And which at times can be totally different.
Yeah, the bourbon told us different.
Yeah. Oh. And I have learned in these first 5 episodes that I need to back off the juice every once in a while because it seems like as the show goes on, my articulation is somewhat waned.
What?
Yeah. Is that close to?
Yeah.
You were surprised.
I'm just surprised that he even knew the proper usage of the term waned.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I got it. It's the bourbon that stunts me.
That's it. That's it right there.
We really appreciate the folks that gave us feedback and continues to give us feedback. And we want that to happen. If you know, you can contact us on our page, and one of us will get back with you.
Yep. Absolutely.
And normally within an hour or so, we monitor the page pretty well. Also, we've got a new thing that we're doing that we're really proud of, that we're wanting to get your feedback and your interaction on our shows. And we've created surveys, and we're going to continue to use these surveys to get what your all's thoughts are on an upcoming topic that we're going to be discussing. So there's going to be a lot of question and answering. And remember, these are all anonymous.
100% anonymous.
Yes. In fact, we're going to be filling them out ourselves. because there may be some topics on here that we don't necessarily want you all to know as our thoughts.
Exactly.
So please keep going back to the page. If you have any questions, anything, contact us directly. We'll be happy to. If we don't know the answer, we'll figure it out.
Or we'll make something up.
That's what we do the best.
Yeah, it's true.
So let's get this show started.
Let's go.
We're going to be taking this just like we did our first 3 bourbons in off of the Reddit subreddit called Today I Learned.
And God help us all.
Yeah, and the first one I thought went well. And I hope you all looked at the video on our Facebook page of the old Levi's jeans commercial. Because we talked about it a little bit. But until you see that thing, how it was put out, and it was a 2-minute commercial. Nowadays, you can't keep people's attention more than 30 seconds.
Right.
But it was a 2-minute commercial that was almost like a little mini movie, and then had that iconic song.
Yeah.
So it's going to be something similar to that. So I've got several topics that we found on Today I Learned, and let's get started.
Let's go.
Today I learned Gary Dahl.
Who?
Dahl, D-A-H-L, became a millionaire almost overnight by selling rocks that he got off of a Mexican beach to Americans as pets for $4 each. Now, our scale here is very cool to fucked up.
Yeah.
So he was, I looked this up and I went into the article. He was the guy that invented the pet rock.
Yeah.
And I want to say that was back in the late 70s.
Probably mid to late, but yeah.
And it continued on through. There were 2 things about that time. It was the pet rock and the mood rings.
Right.
That were both really popular during about that time. And of course the space monkeys that were in the back of the what was it? The little shit.
Space monkeys.
you
James
know what I'm
been eating
talking
mushrooms.
about. Talking about the little brine shrimp that they would ship. Oh shit. First topic, and I got no idea what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about? The little, not space monkeys.
Yeah.
They were in the water. You put the brine shrimp in the water, and they grew. And they said they were water monkeys or something. I don't know what.
Yeah, I thought they seahorses or some such. Sea monkeys.
They were not. They were not seahorses. They had something to do with a monkey. All right, I'll look it up when Root gets on one of his tirades. But regardless,
Okay.
pet rock.
Pet rock.
Guy picks up rocks off of a beach in Mexico.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on if this is cool or fucked up?
I think it's pretty damn cool. You know, the capitalist in me comes out. Dude picks up a bucket of rocks, sells them to a bunch of stupid Americans, self-included.
Did you buy a pet rock?
I did buy a pet rock. 74, 6. Okay? 6 or so.
Math. Huh? Math.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But I just think it's amazing. You know, dude found these rocks and decided, what the hell, puts them in a little cardboard box with some grass in it.
That's right.
and sold them to people as fast as he could put them in the box at $4 a piece.
He polished those rocks up and sold them.
Yeah.
And was a millionaire, and it said in the article, almost overnight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of rocks.
That's a lot of rocks.
I mean, I haven't done the math of how many $4 rocks it takes to make $1 million, but that's a lot of rocks.
That's a whole lot of.
But I'm amazed. anytime-
250,000.
What is that?
No.
He's looking up to the left, so evidently he's trying to do.
I'm trying to do math.
He's ciphering.
It's not 250,000. It's 25,000.
You know, again, if we wanted to do this on our own, off air, it'd probably work out just fine.
Well, we would entertain each other.
But I think this is a really cool.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Gary Dahl is not more of a household name.
I'm wondering what happened to him.
I don't know.
Well, come to think of it, he probably took that, million or $1 billion or however much, went back to Mexico, bought himself a little island. That's why we haven't heard from him.
Very well could be. And I'm sure that there is still a market for pet rocks.
Oh, yeah. They're collector's items.
You tell Americans that they can collect something and they lose their fucking minds. I mean, Americans will collect shit that has no value to themselves, or they will tell you it has value.
Of course.
But I love when I remember a bunch of my friends did the baseball card collecting. Mm-hmm. I was never a big baseball fan. Definitely, I've just never been a collector. So it kind of falls on deaf ears to me anyway. But they would say that this first release of this whatever car, this Ty Cobb whatever, was worth $5,000. I'm like, in order for it to be worth $5,000, you got to find some bitch going to pay you $5,000 for it. You can put whatever value on it you want to. I got a 2015 Altima. I can say it's worth $50,000,
Right.
and it is if I can find some dumbass to pay $50,000 for my car.
That's right.
But as it stands now, probably worth about $7,000. And still, I would have a hard time finding somebody.
I ain't buying it.
No,
Just saying.
It's well kept, low miles.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's
So
fine.
we're going to say this is ultra cool.
I think that's pretty cool. Yeah,
I would agree. I think this is cool. Now I'm going to have a visceral reaction to this one, so I'm going to let you go first after I read this next one. Today I learned that geese and other migratory birds fly in a V formation to improve efficiency of flight. Each bird provides an upwash of air to support the next one along the line. This can improve the range of such groups by up to 70%.
That's physics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So would you consider this cool?
that's cool. Yeah, of course that's cool. How can it not be cool?
Well, I'm going to answer you.
Because you're wrong. That maybe, probably.
All right, I will say that I have a bias on this.
He hates geese.
Geese are they're Satan bred. They are the most horrible animal. All right, there is a hierarchy of idiotic animals. All right, not idiotic. I won't say idiotic, but just Satan based. You know, raised from the bowels of hell.
Oh, okay.
So first of all, you got the snake.
Yeah, well, that's proven.
That snake.
That's in the Bible.
Here's the thing. They can move, ain't got no legs.
Yeah.
Nothing else can do that. Nothing else can do.
Squid.
God cursed them. They got a bunch of legs. what the fuck you talking about? Squid.
But they're not
They
legs.
literally have got like 8 legs.
6.
Squid.
It's a squid.
Squid.
You're thinking octopus.
Jesus Christ.
Squids can. They don't have no. Oh, that's right. They have a bunch of them.
It's a
They
wonder
don't
you-
have legs.
It's a wonder you didn't yell out centipede.
They have tentacles.
Whatever.
It's
anyway,
fundamentally different.
Snake, right?
All right.
Just below the snake, geese.
Really?
All right, just think about this. Now, you're raised in the same dirt that I've been raised
Yeah,
in.
pretty
all
much. Mom's a little bit more
Geese are
elevated.
ducks with attitude.
True.
They are the most insufferable fuckers I've ever seen. There was a road up in Lexington called shit.
He's
It,
making
it
it up.
connects Newtown Pike and Georgetown Road. Citation Drive. And I would have to
Okay.
go across that drive every day to come to work. And there's this family of geese that would walk across the road every morning about 7:30.
Just as you were getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
it
waited
Would, it
for
wouldn't
you.
just be one goose.
No.
It would be like one goose and 12. And little geese are cute. I'm not going to say they're not. Every little animal except for snakes are cute, you know. But they would take upwards of 7 to 8 minutes to cross the fucking street, and they can shut it down on both sides. They can fly. And they're walking across there with this attitude, and they will turn and look at your car like, you want to go? Darn right you don't want to go, because everybody's going to yell at you if you hit me.
That's right.
If it were dark and I was by myself, I would consciously have to think, brake or accelerate. Not for the baby ones, not for the
No,
baby ones,
not for
but
the
they
baby.
grow up to be big ducks or big geese.
So you're willing to kill mom and dad and leave those cute little baby geese out on this road, this roadway, to fend for themselves?
Number
You
one, the
evil
dad.
bastard.
Number one, the dad never comes around because once he hooks up with that lady goose, he's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone because she is a bitch. Now, I used to fish down on Elkhorn Creek when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up on the creek, right down by Jim Beam Distillery. Mm-hmm. And I had to walk to get below the dam, and I had to go by this little, I don't know what you call them, nest of geese. Now, I would fan out wide. I mean, as wide as I could. And that goose would eyeball me as soon as I come around the corner. And I knew the goose. I mean, we had a pass.
You had a thing.
And I would get out as far as I could before I hit the wall where the distillery was. And it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when that bitch went after me. And I'm wearing, shorts. And she took off after me. Now, sometimes I got away from her. Sometimes she'd welt my leg with that damn beak. Geese are the most insufferable animal. On it, they're horrible. I would almost rather have a snake. Because if a snake sees you, it will either stay where it is or go away. If a goose sees you,
You're going to get it.
you're going to get it.
Yeah.
And the fucker can fly. So you can't get away from him. Like a fucking albatross coming in on you. So all of this physics information, that's really cool. Geese, fuck you, geese.
I got to tell you, when I was probably, how old were you when you got flogged by the goose?
Oh, first time 12.
12, yeah. I was, I grew up in Lexington, and Mom and Dad worked at Eastern State Hospital. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh,
But-
I have a history with Eastern State. Not as a patient.
Not as a patient?
Yeah, outpatient. But
The pond right out in front of the Central Administration Building, they always had, geese, the white, I always call them park geese because you find them in all the parks.
don't think that's a proper term.
Yeah, it's my proper term. Fuck you.
All right.
And I guess, geez, I couldn't have been 4 or 5. I was a little bitty thing. And these 2 geese came after me, that head down, flapping, coming at you, scared the living shit right out of me. And my dad saw him coming, took off after him, punted one back into the middle of the pond.
See, here's the thing. You just want to fucking kick them. And if I wasn't running for my dear life every time, at no point did I ever realize, turn around and smack them.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
Because they don't have a strong neck. I mean, look at it. Any neck that's that long, it ain't going to be strong. You can just and be done.
You just kick him in the chest.
Well, regardless. And plus, here's the thing. They don't have to be that close to you to get a hold of you with that damn giraffe neck they got.
You're afraid of a damn goose.
I love ducks. I do.
They're not geese.
Geese are the antichrist of the poultry community. I wish you could eat more of them. I know people eat geese. I
Yeah.
understand it.
Goose is good.
I wish it was more prevalent because I would eat that. Fuck this chicken stuff that we got on every corner. Give me a goose station. All right, so I'm going to say that the whole V formation improved by 70. That's cool. I get that.
It's a tactical attack formation
That's
for
exactly
James.
what it is. I don't think it's great that they can go 70% further. That means I still can't get away from it because they'll gang up on me.
Do you think every goose in the air is specifically
After me.
hunting you
Yes,
down?
yeah. Or they're talking about when they had me. See him down there? He was my bitch Thursday. So I'm going to go and say the whole V formation and the efficiency of flight and all that sort of stuff. That's cool. But
Lord.
geese are the devil incarnate.
Geese are fine.
I think they were in Revelation.
You think so?
I think they're a sign of Armageddon.
You think so?
I mean, I have some history in this. I'm pretty certain I read that.
Is that the 8th seal?
I don't know. Forget the fucking pale white horse.
Right. It was a pale white goose.
Look at that park goose coming this way. So,
Oh my God, you're killing me.
all right, I got a little hot.
Yeah, you did.
I'm,
Yeah, you did.
I'm going to have another bourbon.
I think you should.
So we're going to say that is cool with caveat.
Satanically cool.
Geese are horrible.
Satanically cool.
If there is ever an article published that says that geese are on the brink of extinction,
James is going to celebrate.
I will go out and shoot everyone I can find. I want to push them fuckers over the edge of extinction because they provide nothing.
Sure they do.
Please continue.
Goose liver pate.
And when's the
Roast
last time?
goose?
When's the last time your redneck ass had pate?
It's been a minute.
And you ain't going to save a lot to get the goose liver. I guarantee you're not.
But goose liver's a fine meal. It takes a bunch of them, and you should be happy about that.
But
It takes a bunch of goose livers. That's a bunch of dead geese.
not if
James.
they're extinct.
Good God, move along.
All right, so coming up next, this is going to be something that's going to hit Roots bailiwick.
It's going to hit my bailiwick.
It's going.
God, I hope I'm not in it.
and it's going to massage it.
Oh,
Here we go.
look
Today I
out.
learned that after studios refused Monty Python
Uh-oh.
and the Holy Grail was instead financed by the rock stars Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Genesis, Jethro Tull, and Elton John, who simply saw it as a great tax write-off.
Doesn't surprise me a bit.
Now, I know I don't know this about you, but I know this about you. You love you some Monty Python.
Monty Python, I didn't grow up with it, but I grew up with the reruns. And there was a time, I got to admit, I might have to turn in my geek card a little bit. There was a time I could quote you the Holy Grail from start to finish. I can't do that anymore.
It's called growing up. It's called alcohol. It's called that we can't remember shit.
Yeah, it's probably the bourbon.
Yeah. So you think that that's cool?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I'm on a cool run tonight, but
Cool Runnings.
hey,
Really bad John Candy movie.
like geese. They look cool running.
Shut your whore mouth about geese. You gonna get me all fired up again? I think the thing that I find interesting about this article is that just imagine the business meeting that included Pink Floyd and Zeppelin.
Just that.
That alone is off the charts. I got to be there and be a fly on that wall, right?
Absolutely.
And then when you throw in Genesis, which honestly has nothing to do with the former two bands.
No.
Genesis, I love.
But they're a pop band.
But that now not when Peter Gabriel's with them.
Yeah, they
I
were
think-
always pop.
But I mean, they were a little harder, had a little bit of a harder edge. Mama was a hard-edged song, and before Phil Collins started to be their main lead singer all the time, I thought they had an edge to them. Nothing to the extent of Floyd or Zeppelin.
Right.
And then you throw in Jethro Tull, who is just stoned.
I love
I do too,
that
but
band.
he's not fitting in with these guys.
Ian Anderson, I
Yeah.
think so. I think he.
And
I
then
think he would.
here comes prancing Elton John.
Oh,
Now, here's the thing that would make Elton John fit in with this group, is he's arguably one of the most talented artists of our lifetime. And these guys would respect talent.
yes.
Now, they would not respect his flamboyant nature,
I don't.
unless it was his sense of individuality.
Robert Plant.
But still, not to the level of Elton. No one has been to the level
No,
of Elton John.
that's true. Liberace aside,
Right.
but yeah, Plant didn't reach there. Steven Tyler didn't reach there. But the era in which he played, and I guess maybe his audience too. I don't know. Elton John had his own style. Trying to compare him to anybody else is a fool's errand.
And there's nobody that's
No.
passed him up even
No.
now.
Yeah, and I wasn't not particularly a fan of his later stuff. His early music I still enjoy.
Oh, I don't mind a little
And-
Candle in the Wind. I
Yeah.
mean, he does a great. The best Elton John song in the history of man is Your Song. It's not debatable. The jury has come in. The verdict has been read. Your Song, arguably one of the prettiest love songs ever.
Since the jury is in, I guess I have nothing to say on the matter.
That was my intent.
Of course, Benny and the Jets might have a small role to play.
Yeah, I mean, but that to me, Benny and the Jets was extremely genre or era based.
Yeah.
That song would not play as well today.
Well,
Your Song will still be a beautiful love song. That's why it's been made over a couple, 3 times.
I'll give you that.
Benny and the Jets, you can't do it better than Elton did.
Nope.
And that was 70s. When you hear that song, it's 70s.
Yep.
And it does not, I don't think it has the lifespan that Your Song does.
I don't know, man. It's classic. It's
Plus-
just classic rock.
Plus, and let's just face it, love songs last longer.
Because everybody wants to hear them.
Right.
And
because they touch a chord.
yeah.
But I think what makes this awesome is I would love to hear John Cleese pitching Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Eric Idle, John Cleese, pitching this to these mega rock stars.
Yes. And Elton's over there with his glasses on and his zoot suit.
Boa.
Yeah. and you got Phil Collins that's just trying to figure out where he can cover his bald spot up with, and Peter Gabriel, and Jethro Tull's just somewhere passing out weed. So I would have loved to have been part of that think tank and just seen that think tank and where they all came to the consensus that it's a pretty good write-off.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good with that. We're good with that. Of course, don't know about Genesis, their business practice at the time, but let's see. When was that? Been late 60s, right?
Yeah, I would say
Early
probably
70s,
close to
probably.
70.
Yeah. So, don't know about Pink Floyd's financial status at the time, but Zeppelin, their manager was screwing them left and right, so they needed any kind of financial advantage they could get.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say that this is cool
Yeah.
because of the concept, not necessarily because of the end product. I'll be honest. I've never been a Monty Python fan, and I get it. I mean, I get you either get British humor or you do not get British humor, and that is. And I think we mentioned this before. A Fish Called Wanda, I really liked. That was that same cast of characters.
That was Eric Idle wrote it.
Yeah, and I appreciate their quickness. I love John Cleese.
Yeah.
I still watch him whenever he does interviews on whatever show he happens to be on.
Yeah.
I think he's a very bright and articulate guy that's not scared.
You should check out Faulty Towers. It's a BBC 70s comedy, and Cleese is in that, I believe. I'm fairly certain.
Okay. But I think I really respect it. I think it's a cool story, but it's not something that really gets me,
Yeah.
because it's just not my niche.
I would have loved to have been a fly on that wall as those deals were put together. I don't think all these people got together in the same room. But,
I don't know. Back then, they may have.
well, that's true. Everybody just falls in together at Abbey Road and has a conversation and passes a joint around.
How awesome would that
Yeah,
be?
or a series of joints, or
Yeah,
maybe
or
just
acid.
a hooky. Hookah?
Hooky? You just said hooky.
I did say hooky.
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
planning my day for tomorrow.
I'm pretty certain those guys weren't doing hookah.
Hookah, exactly, and acid, and God knows what Jimmy Page was doing, but it was probably something far stronger than both of those.
Speaking of that, I saw an interview with Keith Richards.
He's still alive.
He is.
Wow.
And it was on Good Sunday Morning, which is one of my favorite shows.
Good Lord.
I
I haven't heard that in forever.
Yeah, but it's still on every Sunday morning with Jane Pauley, who she's 150 years old, but
Right.
still has a set of legs that would
Stop
stop
a train.
a construction worker, mid constructing. But
he's constructing something.
so here's Keith Richards, and they said how old he was, but I don't recall. I'm putting him in his mid 70s,
I think that's reasonable.
somewhere along in there. He looks like he is part of a
horror flick.
pharaoh's tomb, that they unearthed.
He was one of the Nazi survivors from Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, and was it a Holy Grail?
That's where
Was that one of the Indiana Jones shows, or
Yeah.
did you just incorporate that from the Monty Python thing?
no Indiana Jones and the
Are you sure?
yeah.
You don't sound like you're sure.
No, not the whole. That is an Indiana Jones movie. My Lord, I got to turn in my geek card.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not going to speak to you about Indiana Jones. I've never been a fan.
Indiana, it was the first Indiana Jones movie.
Temple of Doom
No, that was a later one.
and the Lost Ark
Lost, yeah, Indiana Jones and
and the Holy Grail.
they're related. They're both in the Bible, James.
Oh Jesus! So again, I think it's ultra cool. I was telling you about the Keith Richards interview.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there smoking a Marlboro, and the guy asks him, says, "Given all of your vices, do you still participate in all the vices that you did?" He goes, "No, not all of them. I still only participate in a couple." And he wouldn't say what it was. He goes, "Of all the vices you've done, is there something that you miss?" He goes, and he has a British accent. I can't do a British accent. But he says, heroin was pretty effing awesome. And I think that's a drop right there. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody state that heroin was pretty effing awesome.
Did Keith Richards say effing?
Well, they bleeped him.
Oh, okay.
They bleeped him. Because it is Good Sunday Morning
Oh, well, that's true.
with Jane Pauley.
Yes,
So, I mean, it's all good, rah, feel good stuff. But, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that
Yeah.
we see a collaboration between them.
I'm
And
just
the thing of it
glad
is, they probably never even cared anything about the movie. By that time, Monty Python had already had somewhat of a following.
Yeah, a little.
So, and with Zeppelin and Floyd, don't both Zeppelin and Floyd and Elton John have some touches in England?
They're all British.
Are they all British? Okay, so they had a working understanding of the
They had to
product
know
of Monty
these people.
Python.
Yeah, they
So-
had to know these people.
So I think it's cool. And I mean, sadly, a lot of these are going to be cool, and they're just going to probably be a little bit unusual.
Well, I'm just glad the classic was made. I mean, that movie is hysterical.
Well, I
even
know
now.
a good friend of mine is a huge Python fan, and he will say references because he and I have a relationship that's based on movie quotes, and every time that he does one, I get lost because other than A Fish Called Wanda, I don't know that I've seen any of them in their entirety because
You've got to see him.
All right, and I may have to do that since I have a service now that I can watch any movie I want to.
And I think Monty Python would be good for the kids, and until you get to later in the movie.
Okay. Well, I will screen that. I don't know if I need kid recommendations from Root. Now this is gonna hit a little bit of a tender spot, I think, on both of us.
Uh-oh.
But I think we said we're going to keep this lighthearted. This is going to be a tough one.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Today I learned that Oliver Sipple. Have you ever heard of Oliver Sipple? Root?
No.
Okay. Was a former U.S. Marine who thwarted an assassination attempt on President Ford and was outed as being gay by a man named Harvey Milk.
Yes.
Despite his request to keep his sexuality private, as a result, Simple was disowned by his family and eventually drank himself to death. Now, I did a little bit of a background on this because I saw this header and I went ahead and read a little bit about it. Absolutely horrific. But now, when was Ford president? What was the...
73, 76.
Okay. So we're looking in the mid-70s.
At the height of Harvey Milk's
Tell
radicalism.
Tell me who Harvey Milk was.
I don't know all the details. I know that during that time, there was a massive push at the national level. It didn't trickle down to what we might consider local level. There were a few activists in small towns like Lexington, and I say small town as compared to New York City.
Sure.
And San Francisco and the major urban areas, but there was this huge push for acceptance, just tolerance of the gay community, and I think to a large extent, those actions, not particularly the one we're talking about in the story, but those protests and those marches got us to really where we are. Every single major push for social change in our history has had assholes and saints involved in it, and Harvey Milk played both roles very, very well. And
I just looked up Harvey Milk.
This is evidence of it.
It said Harvey Bernard Milk was an American politician and the first openly gay elected official in the history of California. So this is leading me to he's trying to champion Oliver Sipple because of Oliver's interactions with saving President Ford.
Right.
So because he was outwardly in the community and carrying the gauntlet for what's LGBT community, right? That he expected everyone else to follow in suit and did not respect the privacy of Sipple.
That's the issue. That is the issue. And I think that would be the issue today.
Sure.
That is, well, that's how you get people killed. It's a sad fact that there are still people walking this earth that would target someone like that.
There was just a hate crime this past week on a young man that stars on a network TV show called Empire.
Yeah.
And I have watched Empire. That may surprise folks because that's the Metro side of my Jethro. But I find the music being it's wonderful, the way they collaborate on the music and stuff. And this young man plays a gay young man that has outed himself in the record producing community. And I did not know the young man was actually gay in real life as well. Wasn't any of my business. Wasn't something I needed to Google. I respected his artistry and his acting ability, and that's really all I need to know about him. I don't care what the guy at Chick-fil-A, where he puts his money.
Right.
Just give me some chicken. That
Right,
kind of
right,
stuff.
right.
I'm not somebody that does that. But he was beaten down by two people.
That's the story.
Yeah.
The current allegation is that the rumor on the street is there's the potential that he made it up. I don't know.
You know, here's the thing: there are no facts anymore.
I know, and that's a damn shame.
That's probably a different podcast for us. But the fact of the matter is, there's no fact of the matter anymore.
Right. Yeah. And what's worse, I said it's a rumor on the street because
Root, if he's anything, he's got his ear to the street. Here in Frankfort, fucking Kentucky.
well, this is 3 bourbons in, so later on I may well have my ear to the street.
That's true.
But you know, the source of that story was local news, or not local police agencies saying, we will prosecute if he made this up.
Yeah.
Well, of course you will, you sons of bitches, but why do you want to put that out there?
Right, because
you're feeding that rumor.
Anymore, the accusation is guilty verdict.
Yeah, and
regardless of what it is.
If this goes to trial now, that's a mistrial.
Yes.
Because the police are assuming that he's guilty.
Right.
Right, jury? That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
You're done.
So going back to Mr. Sipple, this is a guy that was a decorated Marine and Vietnam War vet. Now, this is a Marine. I've never been part of the military service, but when I hear Marine, that's a whole different level of, oh shit. And I know you being in the military, you probably have a different, but when you talk about a jarhead, I mean, that's just a different level. And the fact that not only was he in Vietnam, which tip the cap to anybody that had to endure that horrendous
Shit show,
time. Yeah. And come back, and then he puts his life on the line for a president.
Secret Service.
Yes. And then you got some dumbass named Milk that because he's Billy Badass and wants to come out with his own sexuality, he feels as though that everybody that he knows of.
Expose everybody else.
And it seems as though that Mr. Sipple was outwardly gay in his community in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, he did not have to worry about paparazzi. He did not have to worry about to the degree you would now.
In his local community.
Right, because they kind of protected.
And they supported each other.
Sure.
But also at that time, I would bet if that gets out in the Secret Service world, he's fired immediately.
Probably.
Yeah. So that's a career-ending thing. And while he's part of the Secret Service, he has VA benefits.
Until he's not.
Until he's not. And and this is supposition on my part, but the military was not at all gay friendly.
No, and it's been. I don't know that it's still gay friendly. I think they're required to be more so than they were before. Although I will tell you this: my father being an ex-World War II vet,
Army, right?
Navy.
He
was Navy. I remember back when Bill Clinton was repelling the "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," and it spurred a conversation with Dad and I. And I said, Dad, what do you think about homosexuals being allowed in the military now? And he said, son, they've always been in the military.
Yep.
He said, and at the end of the day, we didn't really care who you wanted to sleep with. We cared whether you had our back.
That's it.
If you had ours, we had yours, and we didn't really care about anything else. And he said, the people making a big deal out of this shit are people that aren't in the military.
Yep.
People that are wanting to make it a political issue instead of just let us do what we do.
Yeah.
We signed our name on a line, or we were drafted, or something like that. We're gonna raise our gun. We're gonna toe the line. We're gonna hit our post. We don't really care whose sexual preference somebody has.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of the best quotes I had back when, well, I'm all choked up. One of the recent iterations of this thing before the Supreme Court case that. That's another conversation too, but before the Supreme Court case, with
he has went now about 3 minutes, and besides choking, has not made a sentence.
Said a word. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy, if I mentioned his name, everybody out there would know it. Well, it's Jim Hansen. He's
is he the puppeteer?
No, Henson. That's Henson.
Oh,
Jim Hansen is a talking head now in the media circles for all things national defense, and. Way back before he got famous, he ran a blog called Uncle Jimbo, and he wrote this big post about homosexuals in the military. And the key line from that post is, I don't care who you fuck, how you fuck, or where you fuck them. I want my buddy on the battlefield to be as buff and as sexy beast as he can be, not because I want to fuck him, but because he has to carry my sorry ass off the field. That's the bottom line right there. And I went to basic with some guys who I knew were gay. Everybody in the command knew they were gay. Nobody said a word because, like you said, none of our damn business.
Right.
You know?
And I think that's what sadly, this gentleman was victimized by.
Yeah, he was.
And it wasn't just that somebody had their nose in his business. They were using him as a pawn in their political scheme.
Exactly.
And I think they would probably say that in their mind, the ends justified the means.
Fuck that.
Because this was, I'm just saying on a high level,
Yeah.
that Harvey Milk, which is probably one of the worst names in the history of names, Harvey Milk said, I am going to champion the homosexual community. And if I have to bust a few eggs to get my agenda passed, so be it.
Right.
Martyrs happen in every movement.
Yep. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Right. So, here's the thing: is Root or I cannot sit here and speak to the level of prejudice that this community has faced in our lifetime. We can't.
We're just two white rednecks.
We
don't
are,
know.
you know, but what we can say is, I've seen an evolution, not only in my own mindset, but in the communities that I run around with, that my perspective has been broadened. Thank God, from when I was a 20-year-old or a 15-year-old when I thought I knew everything. Mm-hmm. So even as a 25 and a 30, and how they have been broadened, I'm thankful that somebody helped me to go along that path, because not only now do I not consider it any of my business, which I don't. I don't care what Root does when he goes home. Trust me, I don't want to know. But not only, it's not Thursday. But here's my thing: is I'm not going to shame you for whatever you choose to do, as long as you don't victimize anybody.
Right. Right.
And if you are proud, be proud.
Yep.
I'm fine with that, as long as you don't victimize anybody. That's the same way I'm going to say to a heterosexual. You do you, just don't victimize anybody.
And don't make me watch.
And here's my thing: is Bill Cosby was a heterosexual. Kevin Spacey was a homosexual. Those two guys are both bastards.
Yes,
Has nothing to do with their sexuality.
No.
Has everything to do with how they applied their sexuality to other humans.
Exactly.
So
even that isn't about sexuality. It's about power. It's about control.
Sure.
It's about power. They're tyrants in waiting. Now, my evolution comes more from a civic standpoint. Haven't been shy at all about my
Anything.
Christian self, or anything else for that matter.
At all.
But the Bible thumpers will go screaming sinner down the street when they think someone might be gay out there. I've got a problem with those people.
God, yes.
Because you're just as sinful as the next guy. I mean, I wake up in the morning. My first breath when I wake up is sinful, and my God doesn't care. He doesn't graduate sin. Every one of our sins is just as bad as the next. I can't judge the homosexual guy or the homosexual girl based on that particular sin, because I got plenty of my own.
And the fact that, and we can go into theological discussion, but we may want to save that for another one. Mm-hmm. But the fact that there is only about 5 places in the Bible, the whole Bible, both the Old and the New, where homosexuality is even mentioned. But yet, how many other places in the Bible were all these other sins mentioned, condemned? And if homosexuality was such an issue, why didn't Jesus ever speak to it? Not one time is any red letter anywhere in any Bible that speaks to the sin of homosexuality. He speaks to a lot of other sins. He talks to churches. Paul wrote letters to church upon church upon church. Not one time was it ever mentioned. So if it was that big of a deal, if it was as big a deal as what people are making it today, don't you think, you Bible fucking thumpers, that it would have been mentioned at all?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was mentioned just as many times as bestiality was in the Bible.
So bestiality's cool too? You do
it was
you,
mentioned,
right?
but here, no, actually, bestiality was spoken fondly of in the Old Testament. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going to do the rhetoric, but is it? I mean, I'm sorry to persecute someone because they don't sin the same way you do.
Right,
And I'm
that's
going
it.
to say right now, I don't believe it's a sin. I don't believe it is. Because they love a different way than I do, or a different gender than I do, doesn't mean, because trust me, the way I love sometimes is sinful. I promise you that. But it doesn't mean that theirs is sinful because it's different than mine. I think that's a misconception that people say because they sin differently than us, we shouldn't judge them. You're right, you shouldn't. But to say that what they do is sinful, I think is a misstatement as far as the Bible that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
Because my thing of it is, if you sit in judgment, that's on you.
Yep.
Every time you judge somebody, you're being judged 10 times over.
And
And I don't want that. Trust me. Woo-hoo. James don't need that.
saying something is a sin is a far cry from judging it. Because in my worldview, the language I'm using tonight, you fucker, is sinful. So, that there's we can go down the whole repentance road and all like that, and that's an entirely different
And that's
conversation.
not even a sentence.
Yeah, cut me
He
off.
talks about me and my words. At least I can form
But-
a fucking sentence.
What I was getting at before is my evolution is more about the laws that were in place trying to prevent the behavior, quote, air quotes.
And they're still there, just so you know.
Some.
Our vice president believes in praying the gay away.
That's not against the law.
No, it's not. But it's
It's
a
not
fucked up
against
mindset.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Oh, we're going to table this tangent because my ears just got red, and it's not from the bourbon. It's not from the 90 proof. But I think if we're looking at this from the concept of what it was stated in Today I Learned,
Yeah.
is that it's a horrible thing to see anybody subjected to someone else's agenda and their lives ruined
Yes.
by that other person's mindset that this is worth it.
Yep. Whether it's activism, legislation, hammer, baseball bat, fist, it all comes down to the same thing.
And this was a Marine that had fought in Vietnam and had put his life on the line for a sitting president and did not have the strength to overcome this. That tells
Right.
you how fucked up this is.
Right. And
So this is our first fucked up for me of the night.
it's entirely fucked
When
up.
you have somebody that by his record has shown his strength to endure war and attack, but could not endure what this asshole put him through.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, everybody reacts to things differently. We don't know what else this
Sure, he
Mr.
could have had some
Sipple was dealing with.
PTSD. He could have had a bunch of stuff going on.
But, this likely cost him a career. This likely cost him his family,
In his life.
and ultimately his life.
And how sad is it when your sexuality, now granted, it's not to that degree now. I think it still can happen.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
But when your sexuality causes family members to disown you, your
That's
job to
just
fire you,
wrong. Yeah,
and your life to be changed as you know it.
yeah.
So that's just fucked up.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to, and you would agree with that?
Yes, yeah, 10,000%. I've done a little bit of research into Harvey Milk when I'm looking into these social movements and all this, and I am not a fan. What the change that his actions brought about may be are worthy, but this kind of bullshit is just flat out wrong any way you cut it. And no, I'm not a fan.
Well, I think anytime that you find a zealot for whatever movement you're talking about, I mean, you had somebody like Martin Luther King that was an advocate for civil rights. And from what I have seen, what I've read, what I've studied, he did so in the right way.
Yep.
You also have Malcolm X. The exact same platform, but went about it a totally different way.
Yes.
Not saying that Malcolm was all bad, not saying that Martin was all good. But when you find somebody that has a zealot nature, Many times the collateral damage is not a factor for them because they have their eye on one thing and one thing only.
Yeah.
And if you stand in their way, you're going to be rolled over.
And yeah. And
Especially when you have an
don't play
army like what this Milk had. Milk just used and I don't think that he brought this guy out. I don't think he brought Sipple out to hurt him.
he probably had the best of intentions.
Or he could have been one of the people that you're embarrassed for who you are. Well, since you won't come out, I'll tell people about you. And I've seen people like that.
It's doxing.
Yeah.
Today we call it doxing, and it's
I don't know what that means.
that means releasing private information about someone as a tactic. So it got really famous in the social media world. So you're doing the keyboard warrior thing and you're pounding it out and you're rhetorically beating somebody down, and then that somebody posts your home address, your children's names, all this whatever other personal information they can find. Doxing.
Gotcha. So that was the 1970s equivalent
Yeah,
to this.
absolutely. And it's shameful.
And I have not read anything that lends me to think that that was the case. I'm just saying it could have been.
Well, if that was absolutely the end result.
Right. And there was nothing that I read in the brief research I did. There was nothing that I read where it stated that Harvey Milk was repentant or sorry for what had happened to Sipple.
Doesn't surprise me.
So that's fucked up.
Yes, it is.
All right, to move it to a little bit of a lighter note, which
Please.
anything could be a lighter note. Today I learned that the stomach in your mouth feeling
What?
on a roller coaster is actually your organs floating inside of you. When you ride a roller coaster. Now, first of all, Root, are you a fan of roller coasters?
Love me some roller coasters. I squeal like a little girl, but I love me some roller coasters.
Oh, we're going to go and walk away from that one. So, what's your favorite roller coaster? Now, we're both from the same area, so I'm
Yeah.
guessing you're going to talk a little bit about Kings Island or maybe Cedar Point or something like that.
Not really Cedar Point. Was it the Anaconda in Tampa at
I
Busch
like
Gardens?
snakes, I done told you. Fucker. Snakes, geese. Is the next one going to be the flying gander?
Sure.
Damn it.
I was riding right on the neck.
I don't know anything about Tampa roller coasters, so I'm going to let you go with that.
It was down at Busch Gardens in Tampa, or in the maybe St. Pete, but it's down in that area, and it was one of those hanging jobs
Oh, man, I don't like those.
that actually did a 360 on the spindle. And
Was that
loops
in
and
Kings
shit.
Island? Didn't they have something like, was that Days of, that
I
wasn't
think
Days
that
of
was
Thunder?
the bat. Wasn't that a
Face
bat?
Off. It was Face Off. Remember the,
Oh yeah, you were facing each
the
other.
old
yeah.
Nicolas Cage
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
which, thank God they made a roller coaster out of that. It lasts longer than the movie did. John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, if I'm not mistaken.
It was one of the worst Nick Cage movies ever, and that's saying something.
That is saying a lot because every Nick Cage movie is the worst Nick Cage.
Don't you touch National Treasure now. Don't touch National. I will come across the table.
Well, we do not want that. So the Anaconda was your.
I think that's what it was called, but man, that thing would rip you apart. It was just amazing.
Well, now the funny thing for me is I would not ride a roller coaster when I was a teenager. I was scared to death of heights, and I remember going up to Kings Island multiple times in youth groups. That I was part of for church day, wear a red shirt day, whatever the fuck it was.
I got a story about Red Shirt Day.
I don't know what it was, but I'd go up there and I wouldn't ride any roller coaster at all. I just rode that big slide that you put your feet in in a
God.
burlap sack.
Pussy.
Yeah, I was. And then one day we got up there, and I will say I was 18, 19 years old, and it had rained earlier in that day. So therefore, nobody showed up at Kings Island.
Right.
So we were there by ourselves for the most part. I mean, Kings Island, it could be a damn good crowd, and you feel like you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And they had just put in the vortex.
Oh yeah.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm going to ride a roller coaster. And what got me on that roller coaster that day was I didn't have to wait in line. I didn't have to stand there and watch that some bitch go round and round and round and round, up and down all the. So I immediately, as soon as I decided, I walked to the front car of the vortex.
Oh, that was a decision.
Some people think it's a good idea to put your toe in the pool before you go in there.
Not James.
Nope. I'm the guy freezing his ass off because it's fucking cold in the pool.
And he jumped in buck ass naked.
Yep. Well, I don't know why you had to take my clothes off, but we'll leave that to your fantasy life, okay?
Thursday's
but,
getting here sooner and sooner.
So I jump on the Vortex, and I did not know that the front car was any different than the back car or the middle car.
Yeah.
I did, and those of you that don't know the Vortex, it does 3 corkscrews, and that is head over ass 3 times. And it's actually stated that if you drop a penny at the first of those corkscrews, it will stay levitated during that time. I did not do that. I was not dropping anything that people wanted me to drop.
Except his lunch.
But I will tell you what, I rode that and was exhilarated by it.
Yeah.
And I have been a fan of roller coasters ever since. But I will go on record as right now. In roller coasters, I've rode primarily been at Kings Island. I've ridden some at Disney World, some at Six Flags. My favorite roller coaster to this day, no exception, not even close, is the Beast.
Yeah.
Because the Beast does not do corkscrews.
No, it's old school
It does
wood.
not do stand up.
Yeah. Unless you're in that front car. On that first climb,
Yeah.
it gets up there and you hang.
Oh, God.
You can't see shit.
And you're dangling.
Oh, yeah.
You're
yeah.
dangling.
Oh, yeah.
Which I have rode that, and that's the one I
That's
want to ride.
amazing.
But that is just nitty gritty wooden roller coaster that's just going to bear up and beat the shit out of you. And it's now been over 30 years since that thing's been built. And it if you've not been on it, it resembles an old abandoned mine shaft. And the older it gets, the cooler it becomes.
Right.
Because the wood looks old now. It was originally put on there to look old, but now it's actually fucking old.
Right.
And I find that just exhilarating. I think it's one of the best. It beats me up now because I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
And it's not built for guys my size.
No.
And it will bruise me.
Yeah.
And heaven forbid if a small person is riding next to me. Because I will, part of me will be in your seat.
There's assault charges waiting for James.
There's a Me Too movement happening right there. No means no. Fuck it. I'm going over the third hill.
I got to tell you, the first roller coaster I ever rode, I was probably about as tall as this mic stand. Yeah, I was very young. And for you Fallout 76 players out there, there's a...
That's a gaming reference.
It is. There's a place on the map called Camden Park. And it's in Huntington, West Virginia.
Was.
Yeah, it was. And the coaster up there was the Big Dipper, I believe, was the name of it. And it was another wooden coaster. Wasn't altogether, by Beast standards or Anaconda.
Well, Beast is the best wooden roller
Vortex.
coaster in the world, I think.
You might get some arguments from others, but that was the first one I ever rode on. And I still remember it. I can almost tell you every hill, every corner of that ride. I love that thing.
So this article is actually saying that stomach in your mouth feeling is actually your organs floating inside of you through the G-force of the drops.
Yeah.
Now, that lends me to think maybe I ought not ride them anymore. Because at my age, my organs are not in tip-top condition.
I need to keep
especially
them right
that liver.
I need to keep them right where they is. I don't need them jiggling around nowhere.
Because I got enough things to jiggle.
I got enough things that jiggle. It's damn right. No, I got to call fucked up on that, man. I got to call fucked up on that. My liver's got enough problems on its own. It don't need to be relocated. No, thank you.
And what happens, or if that is true, and it actually is quoted from a website called science.howitworks.
Okay. Yeah,
So
familiar.
and it's engineering structural roller coaster .6. So
okay.
that sounds like they know what they're talking about.
By the name, if for no other reason.
It hits all those words.
Yeah, it does.
Science,
It does.
engineering.
And James
structural-
stumbled over saying the words, so it's got to mean something important.
Yeah, well, it was all in one sentence. I had a problem with it. But so it's evidently this is probably if that were
I know
fact,
it's
though-
fact.
If it were fact, though, wouldn't there not be an occasion to where people's organs didn't fall back where they needed to be, and they were ambulanced off from the bottom of the Beast or whatever roller coaster,
Or
they were
from
on.
both ends of the beast.
Right. So
They're all connected, though, James. And they're all pretty well tightly packed in there. Maybe not in us, because
I had something moved just a minute ago. I'm not certain what that was.
Don't worry, I can smell it. Good God.
You're welcome.
Oh, Jesus.
But again, let's just go on and work off the premise that this is in fact true.
I guarantee you it's true.
With Ruth's infinite research on this subject.
Grew up with
He
an
saw
RN for a
me
mother.
read it tonight. That was it. I think it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked up, man.
Because
Come
you got
on.
to think that sometimes when you feel something, surely it's not what I think it is.
Surely it's not my kidney in my throat.
But evidently
It
it
is.
is.
Good God. No.
So the next time y'all go to Kings Island or wherever, just remember that feeling.
Yeah, take a healthy chew on your
Yeah.
spleen.
And when you burp afterwards, you're just letting off some liver air.
Some guile.
No.
But guile? Well, guile, but bile too.
I don't know why you were saying things. So
It's a podcast, James. It's what we do.
that is our. That's the.
Oh,
that's,
my God.
That's all of our today. I learned. So we actually had a couple fucked up ones.
Yeah. The
The Sipple and the roller coaster was pretty fucked up.
yeah, for entirely different reasons. But
And then
yeah.
the whole goose thing. Don't even get me started again.
I love me some goose, man. They're sweet, little, adorable. You know why they run from you?
No, they don't run from me. They run to me. If they ran from me, they would be like half the girls I've known. I wouldn't mind them. I don't blame them for running away from me. Them fuckers attack me.
Every time.
I've never met one that liked me. And even they don't attack you. They give you that look like, I could. Because they're walking with that fucking goose walk. That little, you can't see this on the podcast, but I'm moving my neck back and forth. And then they look sideways at you. They don't ever face you with their big goose body. They look sideways because that fucking neck can go around and around in circles. And they look at you and go, fucker, just give me a reason. I'll light that thigh up. No.
He's done.
No. So before we close, before we get out of this thing, let's talk about where they can find us.
In James's basement.
Well, not now, not currently, not physically,
Oh,
but I know we're on iTunes.
we are on iTunes.
We are on Overcast.
By way of iTunes, yes.
We are on Stitcher.
Ah, look, he got it right this
Instead
time.
of Sketcher
Yes.
shoes.
Yes,
We're on Stitcher.
we are on Spotify. We are on YouTube. Although YouTube episodes might lag a little bit because it's a visual medium and we need to put some visual shit in there. So,
And I think we're also off Anchor, our hosting site,
Yes.
which we want to thank
Yeah.
Anchor for hosting.
absolutely.
So far, they've did an amazing job.
They have. After my first fuck up, they jumped right to the plate and saved our ass.
God love it. We were looking for other sources, but anybody that's wanting to start a podcast,
Yep.
definitely look into Anchor.
Anchor.fm, I believe.
It's a free hosting site.
Yep.
And I will tell you what, if you're starting a podcast, and by no means are we podcast veterans.
Nope.
But if you're starting a podcast, the first thing you need to look for in everything that you're doing is free.
Yes.
Because until you know if that thing's going to have legs,
You
you,
don't wanna
should not
invest
have a
a
dime
dime.
out of your pocket to get
right.
that thing going.
And these guys, if you have a topic that you think you have an audience for, you don't need to find the equipment that James got for us through family. They have a means to record you and publish you right from their site.
That's right.
They're amazing.
And if there is a podcast out there that would like us to mention them in our podcast,
Yeah, hit us up.
we think that podcasting is a community. And if you want us to plug you, you plug us, and we'll start pushing stuff out on our network. By all means, when you download one of our episodes, rate us.
Yes, please.
Also, if you go to our website or actually our Facebook page, and you like us, share us on your personal feed. That gets us out to people that don't know us
What they're
personally.
in for.
Yeah. And please remind everybody, this is not family friendly. This is not something you listen to on the minivan on the way to school.
No.
But this is something that
Oh, it's something, all right.
will make you uncomfortable.
We
if
try.
not slightly, then a lot.
And then a lot, like organs in your throat.
That's right. So we're going to continue the three bourbons in
Good Lord.
consistently through our time doing our podcast.
Yeah, hit and miss here and
Yeah.
there.
So if you have suggestions for us,
Light us up.
yeah, again, reach out to us in the various methods that we mentioned to you, and we will definitely consider you. In fact, we have a topic coming up here soon that is totally listener suggested.
Yes.
And please look on our Facebook page now to see what that's about.
For that survey that James talked about earlier.
Yeah, and this I want to tell you what we've done some shows now. Mm-hmm. This is going to be fun,
Yeah,
and it's going to make Root very uncomfortable.
quite.
So, if nothing else, tune in for that.
I'm probably just going to sit in the corner and say, baby.
It's cute that he thinks that we believe that he has the capability of not saying anything sitting in the corner. Until next time, folks.